You know, the thing is about getting old is that you don't really ever know that you've got old until something comes along that you think happened only fairly recently, until you calculate it and discover it was 35 years ago. So before we get into the detail of this latest nearly finished project, I think it's worth recapping some history. I actually released my first game, Infinity, for the BBC Micro in 1988 with my friend Bill Scales. The game is an epic adventure with over 1,000 screens, which was quite an achievement at the time, considering that the BBC Micro had less than 20k of usable memory. And to give that some context, the average desktop icon for a modern game is actually more than 20k. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we released the game to pretty good reviews and then went our separate ways to university, expecting never to hear about it again. Anyway, you can imagine my surprise when a little while ago I did some Googling just for nostalgia to see if I could find any screenshots of it, to discover that there is a community of users still playing it. Anyway, that got me thinking about other games projects that I've been involved with over the last 30 years, and I thought it might be worth documenting them, as well as giving me motivation to finally finish my most recent game, The Time Plague. The first game that I can find any history for was called Tail Gunner, and we released this for the iPhone in 2012. However, it was the opportunity that came along shortly afterwards to work on the adaptation of a very fond childhood memory that I am much more proud of. I was lucky enough to actually work with Peter Firmin, the co-creator of Bagpuss and the Clangers, to create a cosy game based on Ivor the Engine.
Not so very long ago, in the top left-hand corner of Wales, there was a railway. It wasn't a very long railway or a very important railway, but it was called the Meirionnydd and Llantysilio Rail Traction Company Limited, and it was all there was.
To create this game, I was actually able to borrow all the original artwork from the 1980s television programme, to carefully restore it and then reformat it into a mobile game. Whilst not necessarily a commercial success, it was a huge honour to work on this, and it brings back fond memories when I watch the full playthrough that I found while researching this video. After working on Ivor for a while, we then moved on to another project, which unfortunately remained nearly finished. The idea behind Opportunity was to create a games platform that nearly anybody could create games with. Sadly, whilst we did get the games engine to the point where it worked, we simply didn't have the resources necessary to bring it to market. Around 2014, with the arrival of virtual reality, it was time to nearly finish a new project. Whilst I loved the idea of virtual reality, having got a headset, the thing I first discovered is that you really need to add motion to make virtual reality work well. So I broke out the welder and created a madcap steampunk virtual reality simulator. This actually evolved over a number of years and through a number of iterations of the simulator. And as well as the hardware, I also got very much into creating the virtual reality content to go with it. We actually took these machines out a few times and got some pretty good reactions from people who had a go.
That's amazing! I'm sweating, I'm scared! Oh my god, that was amazing!
So, we had some interesting technology, we were getting great reactions from the public, and we'd managed to actually raise some finance as well. So what could possibly go wrong? So unfortunately, due to the pandemic, I wasn't going to be doing anything with VR commercially anytime soon. However, a few ideas were starting to percolate around the possibility of creating a new game. I'd always loved the steampunk look and wanted to create a game that would start the player on a foggy night in Victorian London before taking them on a roller coaster ride across time and space. So that brings us to about now. The game is nearly finished, but then again, it's been nearly finished for a little while. I just need that final motivation to get it across the finish line. So the next section to complete is the on-the-rails part of the game, where you travel in a giant airship and have to defeat the dastardly Morlocks with nothing but an enormous gun.